Hello everyone and welcome back for the final time to F1 22, to Abu Dhabi for the season finale of Season 2. The title decided between myself, Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. Well, mostly between myself and Max Verstappen. Charles Leclerc's just kind of in it for fun. He's mathematically in contention, but 23 points off the championship lead. It'll be a tall order for him to win the championship. Starting off as always with the Pirelli Hot Lap Challenge. We chose the rival duel. It was very easy, so yeah, it wasn't a particularly difficult one. So yeah, not much to say on that. We took victory in all three of the races, and yeah, let's hope that is a good omen for this weekend. 3 wins, get the maximum acclaim and money. And yeah, we can now move on into qualifying. I will mention we did actually struggle a lot in practice to get the practice programs complete. In particular with the qualifying program, but that's not something necessarily new. That did happen in Portugal, and our pacing qualifying was fine, even though I didn't adjust the difficulty. So yeah, we'll have to see if that is the case here. We do still have the fastest car in the sport. At least that is what the chart on the right would have you believe. The list on the left says otherwise, but who knows which one is accurate. I guess we will never know. We have a new livery for this round. I thought since we are under lights here in Abu Dhabi fighting for the championship, we should paint the car as so in a nice shiny new livery, and we will have some, let's not say early celebrations. We have not won yet, but we should be prepared in case we do. So yeah, we've got a nice car prepared if we do win. It is already in some nice shiny colours, ready for either first or second. It is appropriately painted. But anyway, we top Q1 and by a sizable margin. In fact, I dare say the difficulty is set too low. So despite the fact I struggled in practice, we are absolutely smashing it in qualifying so far, but we'll see if the rest of the field can pick up the pace. But yeah, any surprise knockouts in Q1? Not really. The Aston Martin's knocked out there, along with Nicholas Latifi, Robert Schwartzman, Joe Guan Yu and Yuki Tsunoda knocked out in Q1. So we move on then into Q2, and we'll see if we can get a nice clean lap in here. But the trouble for us in this session is we have Sergio Perez in front of us here. So have Red Bull planned this. They've got Agent Sergio in front of us here. Is he going to try and hold us up on our flying lap and see if he can disturb our run? Well, it's worked actually. We've had a bit of a loss to the rear end there. No fault of Sergio's. We just got a little bit trigger happy on the accelerator there out of the hairpin, but no worries. We should have enough pace to still get a decent lap time in, hopping over that inside curb there though, and that sends us wide. So we're not putting in a great lap so far, and we may need to push on for another one if the last sector isn't good. So let's hope we can finish off this lap well. But so far this first flyer in Q2 has not been a good one, just running in too deep there as well, trying to overcompensate for the dodgy start of the lap. And as we come through here, huge slide, and it keeps getting worse, a spin and a nudge into the barriers, and that is a small disaster there for us. Thankfully we're not out of qualifying, but that is not an ideal way to kick things off for us. We're going to have to burn up another set of tyres now to get ourselves into the next session, and thankfully we've got enough time for it, where we went out at the start of the session to give ourselves time for this. But yeah, that's not an ideal situation. It's only a damaged front wing. It'll only take a moment to fix it, but yeah, not a great start to the session, and it will mean we only get one run in Q3. But you know, with the pace that we've had so far, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. We've had great pace so far, so we continue to push on then, and we get our next lap started, and thankfully this time we have plenty of clear track in front of us, no one in the way, and this time we should be able to get a clean lap in with no issues. Try and get through this left-hander nice and cleanly, which we do, and yeah, we just push on for the rest of the lap. This one, a bit of a moment through the penultimate corner there. It's probably a little bit trickier than it looks, that corner. It's sort of bordering on sort of almost flat out, but anyway, we crossed the line, and we're still atop the session despite a few scruffy corners on that lap, and we managed to still make it to the top of the timesheets. Oscar Piastri gets through into Q3, which is nice to see from him, and all of our championship rivals get through as well. Max Verstappen in P7, Charles Leclerc showing the pace of that Ferrari up in second position in the session as well, so it'll be good to see where they qualify on the grid. But yeah, no real surprise that knockouts in Q2 either, so yeah, it's just Kevin Magnussen in the Williams knocked out in 11th position, followed by Esteban Ocon, Pierre Gasly, Lance Stroll, Dan Ticktum and Mick Schumacher. We continue on then into Q3, and now let's see if we can put in a good time. We've only got one chance, remember, in this session. We burnt up 2 sets of tyres in the previous one, and this time we've got Max Verstappen in front of us in this session, so we know he won't be playing any silly games, because of course he will want pole position for himself. So we need to just make sure we're closer to Max at the end of the lap than we are at the start. And it's as simple as that, and we'll qualify in front of him. So here we go into the braking zone. It's a very tricky section this. We went a bit deep there, but as long as we can put the power down smoothly here, it shouldn't be too bad. And yeah, DRS of course in all zones, nothing to do with us being close to Max Verstappen, but the slipstream may be a little bit of a benefit to us, going high and wide through that corner. I do tend to take a bit of a weird line through there. That was probably a little wider than I would have liked to have been, but anyways, we continue to work our way through the final sector, and hopping over the curbs a bit wide there would have cost us a bit of time, but now on board, looking rearward from Max Verstappen, carrying great speed there through the penultimate corner and the final corner as well, just throwing it into those ones and getting the line right. Max Verstappen briefly goes fastest, but we beat that time, and we top of the timesheets once again as we pull up alongside for a moment there. But Max Verstappen probably wasn't too impressed with that, and lets us go by. But that was our one and only lap. Let's see where that puts us.
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who'll be fronting the grid. The scientist, Sainz, and Lewis Hamilton. Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow as we head into the Grand Prix.
Alrighty then, we do take pole position for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the season finale. Carlos Sainz lining up in second, with Lewis Hamilton third, Max Verstappen fourth, and Charles Leclerc, our other championship rival, down in P6. Oscar Piastri down in 10th. Probably not the qualifying session he would have wanted, but still great to see him make it into Q3, which is fantastic regardless. But reminder of the championship picture, it's a winner-takes-all situation between myself and Verstappen, so let's go for it. We need to win this race. Let's do this.
So here we are, ready to go racing for one final time this year. Another season of victories, controversies and rivalries lies in our wake. And just one challenge remains, here in the United Arab Emirates, on a circuit that made its spectacular debut back in 2009. Welcome to the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. The Yas Marina circuit is made up of 3.28 miles of track, featuring 16 corners with 2 very long straights. DRS zones going into the heavy braking zones of both turn 5 and turn 7 offer plenty of potential for overtaking. The circuit comes with its fair share of tricky corners, which will certainly test a driver's braking management. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. The scientist lines up on pole position, and a very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Norris, Charles Leclerc and Perez, Stroll, Mick Schumacher, Ocon. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty, and Daniel Ricciardo. Hamilton, they've taken a grid penalty, Russell, Pierre Gasly and Tsunoda. Oscar Piastri, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty, Magnussen, Alex Albon and Daniel Ticktum. Schwartzman, Deruvala, Joe and Nicholas Latifi. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. Anthony Davidson is with me one last time this year as we bid a fond farewell to another season of Formula One.
Well, the winter break is looming once again. No doubt many of those teams already have their eyes firmly on next season. But there's still work to be done here. Still championship positions to decide, which can make a big difference to the prize money. So no one's going to be taking their foot off the throttle just yet.
We're still in with a shot of this driver's title, and it all comes down to this. Now go out there and come back a champion.
Alrighty then, here we are on the grid for the final race of the season, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Just one formation lap and 58 racing laps until we find out who will be crowned the World Drivers' Champion. In terms of strategy, there's a lot of variety. Actually, one thing to cover off first. Lewis Hamilton's been penalised from third on the grid. And that elevates Verstappen into that position. Oscar Piastri penalised as well, unfortunately. He drops, I think, to 15th on the grid, I believe. So his chance of points considerably lower in this one. But we'll see what he can do. But yeah, in terms of strategy, we're going to split the race relatively evenly. Two medium tyre stints, 19 laps each, onto the hards for the last 20 laps. That was the fastest way I could find to get to the end. We'll see what everyone else does as the race plays out. Max Verstappen starting on the mediums. The Ferraris starting on the softs. Sergio Perez starting on the softs. So the Red Bulls splitting their strategies. Sergio on the softs, Max on the mediums. So there's a nice bit of alliteration there for the Red Bulls. But yeah, we'll see how that plays out for them as we now go to the 5 red lights for the final time. It is lights out and away we go for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and it's a pretty good start for us, a great start for Carlos Sainz and for Max Verstappen on either side though. We get swamped into turn 1, but we'll hold them off and we let them fight behind as we lead the way through turns 2 and 3, and we have a nice lead as they squabble side by side back there. And we'll get away from the pair of them as the fights continue further back as Carlos Sainz loses out to Max Verstappen, who's made a great start up into second position. Meanwhile, behind, Sergio Perez is fighting away with Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris behind. Look at Charles Leclerc trying to gain ground early in this race. Sergio Perez defending hard there as Charles Leclerc is trying to make that move down the inside of Lando Norris, around the outside of the chicane there, and not quite able to get that one done. But tucking into the slipstream is the Ferrari, one of the fastest cars in the field certainly is that Ferrari, so he should be able to get this move done. But looking to the outside, brave to try and go all the way around the outside. Is Lando Norris going to give him the space? Charles Leclerc bravely getting through, and now with the inside line will surely get the move done. Well done, Charles Leclerc. Critical to get these moves done early, and Charles Leclerc doing the business. Nicely done there. And Charles Leclerc is well in contention here with moves like that. But still plenty of work for the Ferrari man. But that was a nice move at the banking to go all the way around the outside of Lando Norris and get that move done. Nicely done. And whoa, that's a lot of smoke there from one of the cars up the road. And there's a mechanical failure for Carlos Sainz, the teammate of the man we were just watching. And Carlos Sainz is out of the race with a mechanical failure. What a shame for the other Ferrari. And meanwhile, while all that was going on, we were squabbling away with Max Verstappen. He actually got ahead of us briefly while Carlos Sainz was exploding, but we managed to get the position back straight away, so no harm done there. But yeah, we managed to get that one back immediately there. But yeah, that was a brief little scare for us as Verstappen briefly took the lead. Meanwhile, Kevin Magnussen is in the pit lane for Williams as they change the front wing on that car. The first pit stop of the race, not scheduled obviously, so he's obviously gotten caught up in a bit of the first lap chaos. So we'll need to see what happened. It's been a bit of a dramatic first lap here in Abu Dhabi, and we'll see what has happened to Kevin Magnussen. He's scrapping away with the two Mercedes cars here. Such is the nature of the end of this season, where the Williams car can do this, but at the moment, well, I guess Hamilton was penalised down here after qualifying in third position, but Kevin Magnussen super late on the brakes, tags the back of Yuki Tsunoda, and that is where the damage came from. So K-Mag just a bit late on the brakes there, I think, and yeah, just got a little bit too bold in that situation. Meanwhile, we are defending hard from Max Verstappen. He's got the better pace at the moment, but Sergio Perez has actually nicked past his teammate there, and now it's Sergio Perez on the soft compound tyres who is trying to make the move on us, as he's still squabbling away with his teammate behind. But it's Sergio Perez now who is potentially going to be the bigger threat, and I have a feeling maybe Red Bull encourage their drivers to swap intentionally there, let Sergio Perez on the soft tyres through, and you know, maybe try and orchestrate something here with their two drivers, get them to cooperate with each other, as Sergio Perez is the one with the pace at the moment with the grippier tyres on. But
okay, we've lost a position, that's us down a place.
You know, Sergio Perez definitely showing great speed at the moment, especially into this corner at the banking, but at the moment we're just doing enough to hold him off. You can see at that corner every time he's having a good crack at it, but so long as we can hold him off there, we seem to be strong enough everywhere else, but we are definitely struggling for pace versus the Red Bulls around this time of the race. So hopefully we can hold them off, but I don't know if we can keep up this defense the whole race, but we'll see how it goes. That said, remember, we are defending against a car on a softer compound of tyre at the moment. But yeah, again, we'll see how it goes. But as we continue to push on, radio.
No tyre concerns at the moment, just focus on the driving.
Confirmation there, the car is fine, so there's no damage to the car. This is, you know, the best pace we've got. So yeah, we just need to find something extra, and yeah, just see if we can just push harder, basically, because there's nothing wrong with the car. I did notice the tyre temperatures were very high, so there is a little element of tyres overheating. But Sergio Perez has come into the pits for his first stop, as there's a pit stop going on there. That is for our teammate, a new front wing for him, which is of course not scheduled part of the pit stop sequence, so unfortunately that means he's had some misfortunes out on track at some point. Still no safety car for any of these loose front wings on the track, so we are quite fortunate to get away with all of those. But yeah, it's unfortunately going to make the race a lot more difficult for our teammate, but we'll see what's happened to him. He's chasing down one of the Hasses at the moment. I believe it's probably Mick Schumacher, and just tags the back of him as the Haas sort of moved back onto the racing line. Piastri was tipping it into the corner at the same time, and yeah, they just sort of, the lines converged there. Just a bit of unfortunate timing, the closing speed, and yeah, just clumsy little incident there, unfortunately, for Oscar Piastri, as we continue this defense, this time from Max Verstappen, as Perez, as I mentioned, peeled into pit lane a while ago. Max Verstappen is the one putting the pressure on now, and yeah, we just as I said, we don't have the pace of the Red Bulls, but we're continuing to try and hold them off as best we can. And at the moment, we're doing a decent enough job, just defending the inside line wherever we need to. And yeah, we're managing it so far.
No need to worry about the tyre condition for now. Everything's looking good.
And I'm still almost convinced there's something wrong with the car, because our pace in qualifying was fine. And while I didn't mention it, but I did increase the difficulty heading into the race as Max Verstappen peels into pit lane quite early in this race.
Tyre condition still looking good.
Looking for the undercut. I did increase the difficulty. I didn't increase it that much.
Your pit window is going to open in 3 laps time. Pit window opens in 3 laps.
But potentially I went a step too far, because Verstappen is, in fact, both the Red Bulls are looking absolutely rapid in this one. So it's not going to be an easy task coming home with this championship, if indeed we do it. So we'll see how it goes. But the one reason I did not react too rapidly to Verstappen's pit stop is this. He came out in a little bit of traffic, getting held up a bit there by Lando Norris. And that was just a little bit early for my liking. I wanted to stick to my original strategy. I planned it out very thoroughly. I spent a lot of time on that strategy screen, getting the optimal strategy in, and I want to stick to it. So I'll have a few lap fresher tyres, and I want to use those.
We had an issue attaching the left front wheel. I know it's not ideal, but let's try and put that behind us and get back into this race. Okay, one stop to go, just one stop left in this strategy.
We have fresher tyres now, then Max Verstappen will be a little way behind, but you know, we'll be able to utilise these. They won't be overheating now, of course, just coming out of pit lane. So while they're still good, that slight delay, by the way, probably cost us the position to these 2 Alpines, which are now going to be rather annoying for us to get past. Because we're going to have to try and make the move now around the outside of these couple of little awkward right-handers, and we're going to have to put the car in a bit of a dangerous spot here around the outside of Esteban Ocon, and we just about get the move done. But that was a bit of an awkward manoeuvre to try to make, but thankfully we're able to just about get the job done there and get past Esteban Ocon. Thankfully Lance Stroll makes his move into the pit lane.
Okay, gaps in the car ahead is 7.1 seconds.
And we don't need to worry about the Canadian, and can just push on away from the pair of them. And yeah, we don't need to get held up by them too much, as we now see Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez in pit lane. So that's another couple of positions we won't need to worry about actually overtaking on track. But yeah, it's not too long before we catch up to Lando Norris, who we will need to overtake on track. He is on a 3-stop strategy, I have confirmed with the engineer, so he's not really in the same race as us, even though he does have quite a decent track position. He has 1 more pit stop left to go compared to what we do, so hopefully we won't put up too much of a fight as we try to make the move around the outside, and we will do so. A little bit tight on the inside line there, but we should have pretty decent traction. We caught up very quickly to Lando Norris, it's got to be said. We're over a second lap faster.
Ahead of you. Okay, gap ahead is 4.3 seconds. They're on fresh mediums. Their tyres are 9 laps old. We think they've got 1 more stop. Your last lap time was a 1 minute 30.2. Good job. You're gaining by a full second a lap at the moment.
And wow, we're over a second a lap, or a second lap faster than Verstappen. So I don't know where that lap time has suddenly come from, but as the sun is starting to set and the darkness is setting in here in Abu Dhabi, we are really finding the groove around this circuit, and yeah, really starting to find some lap time once again. And before long we are on the back of Max Verstappen, and yeah, we are back in this race. I thought once he had that sort of lead out to us, maybe it was going to be a struggle catching up to him, but no, we are back in this game, and before long I think we'll be making the move. Not on this lap, but potentially on the next one. So as we continue on, we're not quite close enough for the hairpin, but on the exit we'll just be looking for a nice smooth run, and with the DRS maybe into the chicane, I think we should be able to get the move done. So let's see if we can make the move. We look to the inside, Verstappen defends, we have a look to the outside, we go late on the brakes around the outside, Verstappen late on the brakes on the inside, we'll make the move all the way around the outside, and we should be able to get the move done. Bit of a drag race on the exit, and we'll get the second bite of the cherry of the DRS, and we'll get the move done. But Verstappen isn't quite done yet, but I think with the outside line all the way around here through the banking, we will have the move done, and Verstappen won't be able to fight back from that. And yeah, we have got that move done. He tried to fight back for a brief moment there into the banking, but ultimately he was never quite there on the inside, and we were able to get that move done. So that is job done for us. We've got the race lead back from Max Verstappen. We just need to keep pushing, see if we can get a margin to him if we can before our final pit stop. I imagine he'll go for the undercut again.
Green flag, we're racing again, let's go.
That was a fake yellow flag there for a brief moment, as Jane Deruvala slowed down so much to let us past that he caused a yellow flag. But I actually couldn't pull away from Max Verstappen because he had the DRS. He was actually very, very quick behind us. So that may have been part of the issue we had at the start of the race, is just because he had DRS, he was getting so much lap time from that. That was what was causing our issues. But to my surprise, we actually make our final pit stop before Max Verstappen. So I don't know what he's doing, but he's been on those medium tyres for a long, long time, much longer than his first set, so he's not splitting his stints evenly. That is for sure.
Stop, faster than we were expecting. Pit
But,
strategy complete.
Anyway, let's see what he does. But anyway, we come out of pit lane, and we'll see what Verstappen does for the rest of the race. But he certainly can't finish the race on those tyres, because he's only used medium tyres so far, so he has to make another stop.
Second place, you're in second place. It's Verstappen ahead. Our gap to the car in front is 20.5 seconds. They're on old mediums. Norris is behind you. Our gap behind is 22.4 seconds. They're on old mediums. That was our last stop. No more scheduled pit stops. Let's go. You've got 20 laps left until the end.
So yeah, Verstappen has to make another stop at some point in this race. He's only used 2 sets of mediums so far, so he can't go to the end. He's got to do something.
Okay, no issues with tyre wear for now. Keep taking care of them.
So as we clobbered the curb there, just checking the floor was okay. Thankfully, we're in the clear. But even on cold, hard tyres, we're gaining time on Verstappen on his worn mediums on our outlaps. So yeah, he needs to react to this undercut quickly, unless he's got something planned, or he's just waiting for potentially a safety car. I'm not sure what he has planned, because yeah, it's not I don't know, it's not an ideal situation for him, I guess, at the moment for Max Verstappen. We're just gaining time on him, and he still didn't react, despite the fact he's on very old medium tyres. But anyway, we'll check in on Charles Leclerc as we were covering off all that action. He was involved in a little scrap here with Lewis Hamilton, and you can see he was gaining very, very quickly on the Mercedes driver, went for the big lunge down the inside into the hairpin. So Leclerc clearly either just with a big pace advantage or on fresher tyres, potentially both. But either way, drew alongside along the straight, and just about got the move done into the chicane. But Lewis Hamilton not giving up here as they continue to run side by side through the chicane along the next. Not quite as straight as they continue to keep this fight going, and now heading towards the banking. Leclerc switches to the outside, trying to pull off the same move he made on Lando Norris, but they make a bit of contact as Hamilton understeered a bit wide there, I think, and that has caused a bit of damage to the front wing of the Leclerc mobile, and that has, I think, we ended any hopes Leclerc has had of coming home with any reasonable result in this race, because he's going to have to make an unscheduled stop here. And here we go, in he comes, Charles Leclerc with the front wing end plate off that Ferrari. And yeah, that's a shame for him, and that's going to end any title ambitions he may have had left in this one, and certainly any hope he had of a decent result in this race. So shame for Charles Leclerc, and yeah, he will tumble down the order with an unscheduled stop. Ferrari will be very thankful they wrapped up the championship last time out, because with both Red Bulls towards the front of the field, and with both Ferraris striking trouble in this one, it's not a great day for them here in Abu Dhabi. But Leclerc will get going again. We'll see what he can recover from this one.
Verstappen's ahead of you. Okay, gap to the car ahead is 19.5 seconds. They're on old mediums. Their tyres are 24 laps old. We think they've got one more stop. And the time last lap was a 1 minute 30.3.
Meanwhile, Max Verstappen is on 24 lap old tyres. Didn't he pit on lap 17 or something in the first stint? So I'm not exactly sure what Red Bull are doing with the strategy there. It just seems so odd to split the stints so unevenly. I mean, I know he was sort of going for the undercut to get past, but that's very unusual to split the stints so unevenly like that, and to still be pushing on. Despite the fact he's clearly lacking pace now, we are gaining a significant amount of time. But we'll see how it goes, I guess. Maybe they have something planned for Max Verstappen, maybe, as we continue to push on. And you can see we're continuing to gain time on Max Verstappen. He finally makes his pit stop, but by this time we are actually about 12 seconds behind him. We have gained about 8 seconds on Max Verstappen, and he's putting the hard tyres on. I was going to suggest maybe he was going to go onto the softs with only 12 laps to go in this race. Now, he could easily make it to the end on soft tyres, but no, Red Bull are going onto the hards for Max Verstappen. So they've thrown away an opportunity there. I thought for sure he might, try that, but no, apparently not. Red Bull putting him onto the hards for just 12 laps at the end of this race. And with that, I think they've thrown away any opportunity Verstappen may have had. Fresher hards, the nows, they might be faster, but I don't think he's going to close up the margin of, what we have of about 5 seconds at the moment. I just don't think it's going to be enough as long as we keep it clean, as we make the move around the outside of Mick Schumacher. We've gone a bit wide though. Mick Schumacher actually gets us back there, so bit of a moment as we actually made a bit of contact, as that's a little misfortune, costs us around about a second, but we'll be able to get back past him, back around the outside of the banking there. So no harm done, a little bit of time lost, but no big deal. We'll just keep pushing on, but as long as we don't have too many moments like that, it shouldn't be a big problem. But yeah, that was a bit of frustration. But on that note, last pit stop of the season award goes to Haas with a pit stop for Mick Schumacher. Actually completely unrelated to that little moment with Mick Schumacher there. He caused that all on his own, as he makes his way delicately out of pit exit. Bit of a sketchy pit exit, this one. I wonder if anyone has actually ever crashed in that tunnel. That would be quite embarrassing. But anyway, he actually caused that bit of damage as the Aston Martin goes full send down the inside. Bit of contact there, but that's not what caused the damage for Mick Schumacher. It was actually as he pulls out the way for a blue flag. It was Sergio Perez, I believe, going past Schumacher too late on the brakes, and just clips the back of Sergio Perez, and that's what caused the damage for Mick Schumacher. And yeah, that is the reason he came into pit lane with just 3 laps to go.
Okay, this is your final lap of the race.
So that's a shame for Mick Schumacher, and yeah, pits come to life one final time this season on lap 55. But anyway, we begin at the final lap of the race, and we have quite the sizable lead over Max Verstappen, so we can just take it relatively easy around this one. It's not a particularly high-risk circuit, but
Okay, we've only got 1 lap of fuel remaining.
yeah, we have a lap of fuel remaining, so no fuel risk at all. We can just bring it home safely. We have a lap car up the road. I don't think we'll catch them, so yeah, all we need to do is make no mistakes, and we should have this one under control. Verstappen wasn't really a threat to us throughout this final stint. The gap ebbed and flowed a little bit, but overall he just didn't have the pace on the hard compound tyres. I have to say, I actually love these hard compound tyres. I really just got into the groove in this final stint, and much more than in the previous 2 stints. I just really felt in sync with the car and the track, and just really could get into the rhythm of it. But now, as we round the final corner for the final time, the time is here, the time is now. We are going to cross the line and become the World Drivers' Champions.
Yes! Yes! We've done it! That is the world champion right there. Well done!
We've done it. Awesome.
And so the celebrations begin, and well earned they are indeed. It might have looked simple at times, but as any racing driver will tell you, competing at this level at the very top is anything but simple. There's no catching them now then. We have a new World Drivers' Champion. They've done it then. Victory in the last race of the season and the championship as well. What a phenomenal end to a terrific Formula One season. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
I think it was clear what the main contributing factor out on track was: speed. I know it sounds like an awfully reductive statement, but fast cars win races, and we saw that today with our winner.
Here comes your top 3 making their way down to the podium for what can only be described as a fantastic day for Formula One. Well, after an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Well, there was a lot of incredible driving out there today, but if I had to pick someone, it's got to be Sergio Perez. Fantastic driving.
So then, Ferrari have now moved out of sight and out of reach. It's another triumph for the Italian team as they claim the World Constructors' Championship. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Well then, World Drivers' Champion. Goodness me. That is unbelievable. I had my doubts at the start of that race when the Red Bulls were looking so quick, but we pulled it back in the second stint, and then once we got onto those hard tyres, we never really looked back, in fact. But yeah, in fact, there was very much 3 distinct phases in that race. It was all defense in that first stint, and we're always on that defensive line, looking in the mirrors, and always worrying about where Verstappen or Perez might be making that next move. And then in the second stint, it was a complete role reversal. We were on the attack, looking forward to Lando Norris and Max Verstappen, and hunting them down, gaining huge chunks of time per lap, and passing them. And then in the third stint on the hard tyres, we were just push, holding that margin out to Max Verstappen. So it was quite unique in that there was those 3 distinct phases of the race where we're doing 3 entirely different things in each stint, but it was very enjoyable in that way. So yeah, quite a fun race to finish off the season, and to end off the time in this game. So yeah, I really enjoyed this race. But anyway, yeah, we will now, I guess, look forward to F1 23. What else to say about this one? We finished third in the team's championship. I believe I did sort of set that goal roughly in somewhere in the middle of the season. I said that could be a target. But yeah, we did manage to do that, which is nice. But yeah, catching Red Bull and Ferrari was never really attainable. With the form they showed towards the end of the season, and with the lack of form of our teammates and their focus stats just plummeting all the time for inexplicable reasons, despite the fact I was always trying to help them as much as possible. But anyway, yeah, that was just a shame. But anyway, that is going to do it for this one. So I want to say thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really do appreciate it. Feel free to give me some feedback in the comments. It is always very helpful, and I will see you in the next one. Breaking Point 2 will be coming very soon, so I'm looking forward to seeing where the story goes. I'll see you then. Goodbye.